Locals didn't whisper about it. They simply drove the long way around, even in daylight, even when it meant adding 20 minutes through flooded switchbacks. Children who strayed too close to the property line came home with nosebleeds that wouldn't clot. The manor had been empty since 1987, when the Hargrave family simply stopped appearing in town. Groceries rotted on their porch. A Packard sedan idled in the driveway until it ran out of gas. The doors were locked from inside. The windows were not. Maya Chen was 34, a structural assessor for Heritage Insurance, and she was being paid double time to determine if the Hargrave property could be salvaged before the developers broke ground on the Constance Commons luxury townhomes. She brought 3 specialists. Derek, her field photographer. Aisha, a sound engineer who had started taking building acoustics jobs after her grandmother died. And Paolo, a code enforcement officer who carried the master key and a recorder for liability documentation. The switchbacks were worse than the map suggested. Twice the van's tires lost traction in mud that smelled like rust, and something sweeter underneath, something organic. Maya drove with both hands on the wheel, knuckles white, while Aisha stared out the passenger window at the trees. They were too still. No birds, no insects, just branches interlaced overhead like clasped fingers. The Packard sat where it had died, half sunk in weeds that had grown up through the wheel wells. Maya stepped out first. Her boots crunched on gravel that sounded wrong, too hollow, like walking on a shell. The porch steps groaned but held. The front door was locked, which Paolo handled with the master key. But the windows on either side stood open 2 inches, as if the house had been breathing and forgotten to exhale. Inside, the foyer smelled of plaster dust and something floral that had no business surviving 30 years of abandonment. Maya's hard hat light swept across water-damaged wallpaper, buckled floorboards, a chandelier missing half its crystals. The dust motes in her beam moved wrong, not drifting, circling. "The acoustics are wrong," Aisha said, standing in the foyer. She held a meter Maya didn't recognize, its needle twitching at the edge of the dial. There's a sub-bass hum, 22 hertz, right at the threshold of human hearing. Makes your teeth feel loose. She paused, swallowed hard. "My grandmother's ventilator used to vibrate at 19. Close enough to make me sick." They found the basement door behind a collapsed china cabinet. Maya touched the handle. Cold, from Paolo's recorder, later analyzed by a forensic audio tech, came a sound not captured by human ears in the room. A music box winding down, playing a melody that shared harmonic frequencies with Aisha's equipment. The basement floor was carved with spirals that seemed to move when viewed from the corner of the eye. Candles stood in pools of their own wax, still warm. At the north point sat a portrait in an oval frame. Constance Hargrave, age 16. The last photograph before she vanished from newspaper society pages. Her smile was too wide. Her teeth were too numerous. Derek's camera didn't die. Neither did the floodlights Maya had mounted on her hard hat. They worked perfectly. That was the problem. Derek sat in his studio apartment with the blinds drawn and the only light coming from his monitor. He had told himself he was just cataloging the footage for the insurance report. Standard procedure. He had told himself this 3 times before he even opened the file. The basement entrance played first. Maya's hard hat beam cutting through dark. Aisha's silhouette. Paolo's recorder held out like a dowsing rod. Derek watched himself in the frame, camera raised, documenting the water damage on the doorframe. He looked calm, professional, oblivious. He slowed the playback to half speed. At 17 seconds, he saw it. While the living 3 stood frozen at the basement entrance, something stood behind Aisha. It had Constance's face but stretched, grown beneath it for 36 years, and it was inhaling, not air. It was inhaling the color from Aisha's hair, the flush from her cheeks, the light from her irises. The camera captured the transfer, vitality moving from subject to portrait, frame by frame. Derek's finger hovered over the pause button. He didn't press it. He slowed the footage to quarter speed. At 23 seconds, the thing in the background turned its head and looked directly into the lens. Into Derek, into the apartment, into the dark room where he sat alone, breathing too fast, with the monitor's glow the only light left. He called Maya immediately. She didn't answer. She was already at Aisha's hospital room, watching doctors fail to explain why her colleague, 32, healthy, no history of mental illness, had gone catatonic overnight. Aisha didn't speak. She hummed sometimes, a tune no one recognized, and scratched spirals into her arms with her fingernails until they bled, and kept scratching. The patterns matched the floorboards exactly. Heritage Insurance condemned the property. The developers built anyway. If you drive past Constance Commons now, units starting in the high 6 figures, you'll notice something strange. Every closet comes with a mounting bracket. For art, the brochures say. But every resident eventually finds the same oval frame left behind by the previous owner. The portrait changes. The face is always someone who lived there, smiling too wide, teeth too numerous, while the original photograph of Constance Hargrave hangs in the lobby, looking younger every year. Maya still assesses structures. She works faster now, spends less time in basements. Last week she inspected a new build in the same county. In the master bedroom closet she found an oval mounting bracket, empty, waiting. She stood there for a long moment, hand resting on the metal bracket. It was cold. The closet smelled of fresh paint and new carpet, but underneath it she caught the same floral note from the Hargrave foyer. Lilacs, 30 years old and still blooming somewhere. Aisha's face came to her unbidden. The hospital room, the humming, the blood on the sheets where she had scratched spirals into her own flesh, matching the floorboards exactly, matching the mounting bracket in Maya's palm. Maya could still hear the tune sometimes, late at night, when the heating vents rattled at just the right frequency. She looked at the empty bracket. She looked at the closet door behind her. She thought about the family who would move in next week, the children who would hang their coats on this hook, the portrait that would appear behind them, slowly, inevitably, wearing their faces while Constance smiled from the lobby, growing younger and hungrier. Maya closed the closet door. She locked it. She recommended the buyers take the unit across the